The creative power and the sacred arts. Artistic or aesthetic intention expressed through Hermetic thought has had a profound and permanent effect on modern culture. The impact of Hermetic thought and personalities prove that artistic transmutation of energy is the highest path for the evolution from the human to the superhuman, from the mental to the supermental. Many poets and all mystic and occult writers in all ages and countries have declared that behind the visible are chains of conscious beings, who are not of heaven but of earth, who have no inert form but change according to their whim, or the mind that sees them. You cannot lift your hand without influencing or being influenced by the hordes. The visible world is merely their skin. In dreams do we go amongst them and contact them. They are perhaps human souls in the crucible, these creatures of whim. W.B. Yeats. To find the likeness of your own heart, do what you love and make it into art. The Arcturians. Artistic immersion combined with esoteric thought represents a template of evolutionary emergence of the occult personality. The occult personality is a laboratory of psycho-cosmic functions. All esoteric personalities are experimenters, using their minds and bodies as a laboratory to ultimately peel away the conditioned self and arrive at the true or objective self. Many famous works of art in literature and music are heavily influenced by occult thought. Most occult masters have strong inclinations to investigate the forces that lie beneath human existence through application of cosmic imagery, words, and music. For example, Eliphas Levi was a talented artist and illustrated his book with symbols and diagrams, many of which have profound archetypal resonance. He also wrote much regarding the importance of imagination. Behold the greatest magician in the universe. It is she who makes the memory yield its fruit, who realizes beforehand the possible and invents even the impossible. To her, miracles cost nothing. She transports houses and mountains through the air, places whales in the sky and stars in the sea, gives paradise to the hashish or opium eaters, offers kingdoms to inebriates and makes pirouette dances with joy under the mild pale. Such is imagination. Levi influenced writer and occultist Sir Edward Bulwer-Lytton, with whom he met in 1861. Bulwer-Lytton wrote The Last Days of Pompeii and other occult books bringing the idea of magic to light in the last years of the 19th century. Bulwer-Lytton also wrote The Coming Race. This mysterious text had a strong influence on elitist thinking and introduced the concept of Vril, the occult force. It was while visiting Bulwer-Lytton that Levi experienced an apparitional manifestation of Apollonius of Tyanus. The following poem, The Magician, written by Levi, is an example of using the arts, in this case poetry, to transform the lower energies. O Lord, deliver me from hell's great fear and gloom. Loose thou my spirit from the larvae of the tomb. I seek them in their dread abodes without affright. On them will I impose my will, the law of light. I bid the night conceive the glittering hemisphere. Arise, O sun, arise, O moon, shine white and clear. I seek them in their dread abodes without affright. On them will I impose my will, the law of light. Their faces and their shapes are terrible and strange. These devils of my mind to angels I will change. These nameless horrors I address without affright. On them will I impose my will, the law of light. These are the phantoms pale of mind astonished view, yet none but I blasted beauty can renew. For to the abyss of hell I plunge without affright. On them will I impose my will, the law of light. Madame Blavatsky was greatly influenced by both Eliphas Levi and Bulwer-Lytton, and quoted them both extensively in her works. This larger esoteric body of knowledge that Madame Blavatsky synthesized as Theosophy had a great influence on all aspects of 19th and 20th century culture, particularly the arts. Some well-known artists and writers influenced by Theosophy include authors James Joyce and D.H. Lawrence, Frank Baum, author of The Wizard of Oz, painter Wassily Kandinsky, and poet and Nobel laureate W.B. Yeats. Yeats was also a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and wrote poetry dedicated to the lodges of ritual magic. Other notables who studied her works, many of whom became theosophists, were Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, William James, E.M. Forster, Christmas Humphreys, Buddhologist, Edward Conze, Nicolas Flammarion, French astronomer, Sir William Crookes, chemist and physicist, Piet Mondrian, abstract painter, Maurice Maeterlinck, playwright, Gustav Mahler, S. Radhakrishnan, President of India, Annie Besant, founder of the Indian National Congress, Rudolf Steiner, founder of Anthrotheosophy, Waldorf schools and new agricultural methods, and Krishnamurti, philosopher. Mahatma Gandhi joined the Theosophical Society in London at the Blavatsky Lodge, March 26, 1891, just a few months before Madame Blavatsky's death. It was at the Theosophical Society that Gandhi received his first copy of the Bhagavad Gita. It is also well documented that one of Elvis's favorite books was The Voice of Silence by Madame Blavatsky, and he was known to quote this book during his later stage performances. Elvis also owned copies of Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine, as well as two of Dane Rudyard's book, Fire Out of Stone and New Mansions for New Men, Lucy's Trust. This is merely to demonstrate the power of occult thought on mainstream arts. As controversial as he was, Aleister Crowley also had strong influence on culture and the arts. Among those influenced by Crowley also include Aldous Huxley and rock musicians Jimmy Page, Jim Morrison, Ozzy Osbourne and David Bowie. Page, who purchased Crowley's home in Scotland, said of Crowley, "I feel he is a misunderstood genius of the 20th century, because his whole thing was liberation of the person, of the entity, and that restriction that would fool you up. He was like an eye to the world, into the forthcoming situation." The Beatles included a picture of Crowley on the cover of their Sgt. Pepper's album. The point is that the occult, magic, or esoteric philosophies have always been at the core of the creative process. For example, Shakespeare made allusions to magical practices in several of his plays, including Midsummer's Night Dream and The Tempest, which are filled with alchemical themes, esoteric symbolism, and initiation rites.